Let me begin with you, Mark, from a governance expert. Are these political realignments going to affect the outcome of the October 17th repeat poll?
It's going to be difficult because, number one, we must realize that both political formations have picked up the political campaign narrative of the enemy is the other side. Now, whenever that happens, you inflame passions and then you solidify your base. That means that you make it difficult to go and entice the guys who are not solidly behind you.
Right.
So that's the problem. Now, so from that perspective, you can see that the people who are hardcore Jubilee will vote Jubilee, and those who are hardcore NASA will vote NASA. But in this particular election, unless the courts rule otherwise, we've got a two-horse race. So the question becomes, will these hardline stances be able to convince the moderate Kenyan who was unconvinced before to vote on either sides? That is one. Number two, the realignment will definitely affect how the election is, because you cannot ignore how many votes each of these people got. So the more people move towards Jubilee, then if you count 50 plus 1, even if Ababu is able to bring one Luya vote, that could be 50 plus 1 for Jubilee. So we can't ignore the political realignments. But at the same time, I would like to caution our politicians and remind them that it is actually legal for you to think beyond your political party and affiliation. You are actually allowed by law to have an independent mind. The thinking where every politician is towing the same tone from president to MCA, from opposition to MCA in opposition, is wrong. We need to come to a place where leadership is exemplified by you choosing what is the moral high ground despite what is being said at the top. And that is the most important thing in this particular election, because both sides have forgotten there are people in this country who do not like Jubilee or NASA, and that's who you need to confirm. Your bases will vote for you. But the people who are undecided, those people are looking at you and wondering what circus is going on
Right,
here.
and of course, in the campaigns, we've heard the slogan "Wembe ni ule ule" from the Jubilee Party, saying they will win, with more than 70% of the vote. But Raila Odinga on the dailies today says he's going to win with more than 3 million votes. So both of them seemingly just just before the August 8th election, very confident of victory. What do you make of these political realignments, Osido?
Michelle, this October 17th is about Kenya, and it's going to be about Kenyans. And as it were, my advice to the political advisors and the political strategists is to think beyond the main team, the main heads, beyond Raila Odinga and beyond Uhuru Kenyatta. Because how Kenyans are going to vote, those people who are seated in boardrooms and looking at the figures and saying, we have this block, we have that block, we don't have this, so we need to put up energy on this, we need to be going like this, there's going to be a surprise. And this surprise is going to be shocking. Why? Because note that in the August elections, there are more than 5 million people who did not vote. These people are still swerving and checking which side is singing to my tune, which is this side that is much more favorable and is presenting issues, not political narratives. Yes. On the other hand, there are these people who are saying, I am looking for that leader because my independent candidate did not make it. And even if my independent candidate made it, it is no longer about the gubernatorial vote, it is no longer about the senatorial vote, it is about the presidential vote. Right. Note again that at the Supreme Court, there were more than 433,000 plus votes that were rejected votes. These were votes of people. Yeah? Now, these are also people who are seated out there looking at where am I going to cast my rightful vote? Because it is no longer going to be 6 ballots. It is about 1 ballot. Right. And it is 1 ballot that is going to be, in my view, inform the future of this country. So between the next 38 days, it will not matter how much noise you can be able to make from a governance perspective. It is going to be about what are the problems that I face as a Kenyan and how can they be fixed. I have also had a number of people who are saying, if this is how we are going to be voting, then I will abstain from the vote. Right. Now, look at it this way, that abstaining to vote is actually voting for the person that you do not want to vote for. and the person that you don't want to be in power. What this therefore means, in my view, is that the political parties must go out there to make sure that everybody is out there to be able to vote, but that vote must be able to count.
Right.
But I'll go back to this, Michelle, that it still depends on systems, because governance and politics do not run in a vacuum. And this system is what the IEBC will be able to do. How the political protagonists also engage IEBC is going to inform the ultimate outcome of this process.
All right, Mheshimiwa.
You know, you just asked about wembe ni ule ule. We want to say Mungu ni ule ule. Mungu, the God who gave us and who made it possible for us to catch up with the thieves, is the same God. Therefore, wembe ni ule ule, if they are going to steal, the same God remains to be our God and the God of the Kenyans. That is easy as it is.
Right.
I want to agree with my brothers here is that the elections of October is about those ones who have decided to take us back to Egypt, and for us who are going to Israel. Therefore, either you decide to enter a bus which is full of thieves and murderers, rapists, who don't have, you know, a country where no rule of law is respected, and another bus full of promises. Yes, there could be problems inside there, but full of promises that, yes, you're getting to Canaan. And Canaan, indeed, there will be peace. There will be no stealing of the public funds. There will be, you know, we'll respect the rule of the law. That is narrow. Is either Kenyan who has not decided, is that he might also decide that we continue with the two groups. I want to disagree with my brothers here. We must agree that we have two sides of the coin. One side of the coin is the one which wants to steal from even a common citizen, a common farmer. You can imagine Jubilee under its leadership, they can go ahead at Ruaraka, grind stones as fertilizer, take it to people of Rift Valley.
Well, let's focus on what NASA is going to do as opposed to what Jubilee is doing wrong.
You see, that's what we're going to do, opposite of what Jubilee is doing.
All right.
Michelle, I like it when Mheshimiwa says one bus full of promises, he only forgot one word, empty promises. And the other one stealing from common mwananchi, very well. How better can you steal from a common mwananchi than giving them pay bills where the money is going to the pocket of one person? We have seen it before. We stole money purportedly fundraised for teachers. We have seen more pay bills before. That money always goes to the pocket of Raila Odinga. But Michelle, preparing for a great enterprise or victory or even war calls for some qualities to be in check. And one, of course, is to be in solidarity with your comrades at arms. The people who started ODM, we have, or NASA, we have seen most of them actually join us. Of course, the other one is total commitment to mission. Total commitment to mission, when you talk about an electoral process, there is no other mission other than to get majority of votes. What Mheshimiwa and NASA have been doing is just sideshows every single day, sending fear to Kenyans, sending propaganda to Kenyans, and that will not yield much. Mheshimiwa, I go back to what I started, the advice I gave you when we started. You will lament in every
I can't
place
take any
you go.
advice from the Jubilee at any time.
You will do all the manner of things you will do, but an election is about votes, and votes are hunted. We are out there hunting votes, and we are so busy receiving some of the comrades you had. We had a whole battalion from Western Kenya. We had a whole battalion from Ukabani. And Michelle, that is what matters to an election process. All the noise you make in between is just hot air.
All right.
But again, I know the hot air is directed to something because they clearly have not been ready for these elections. They want to keep on doing all manner of things, purporting to be campaigning. How can you be in campaigns, Michelle? You are in a political rally and you are saying you are boycotting an election. What are you then doing in an election
Let's perhaps
Michelle,
advance this conversation because we don't have much time. We have about 5
Michelle,
minutes
allow
left.
me to
So,
say this.
Mheshimiwa, even as you comment on that, the issue of petitions, I believe there's about 162 petitions that have already been filed in court. So the question is, even after the outcome of the election, what will be the overall constitution of Parliament, and which party will have more power, which party will have the majority, and will that be affected by the current petitions that are in court?
Michelle, first of all, let us ask ourselves, what kind of characters who have come on stage? The likes of Undolo, Gumo. What value will they add to Jubilee? The Msila, what value? You know, I don't want even to comment about it, but I want to quickly get into 162 petitions where they are adjusting themselves that they have the numbers. I can tell you, we're gonna get over 60. These chicks which are generated, computer-generated chicks, that we're going to get them out of the both houses actually, both in Senate and the National Assembly as well as the County Assembly, because we know the fraud was down the line, except where they were unable to do it. Like in my constituents, I'm sorry.
Because that was the next question.
You know, I want to be
What a
very
paradox.
practical. I want to be very practical. We took charge. They wanted to do it, but they could not do it in my constituents.
What a
All right,
They will
maybe
not
just
do it
before we
even the
continue,
coming
just before we continue, let's first listen in to what Otiende Omolo had to say about these petitions that continue to be filed in the courts, rather.
Many petitions that will come up. Some on the similar issues that arose in the Supreme Court, the unbelievable 11% difference. Some on issues of ungazetted polling stations, ungazetted returning officers, and some on issues of discrepancy in terms of the votes they got and the votes that were received. So it is true that there will be many stations, but I have no fear because I'm aware that the judiciary has always been preparing for election petitions. So I am quite sure that the Chief Justice will assign judges and magistrates to deal with them quite promptly.
Hapa Narok, nyinyi mlitoa vifaranga vya kuku, lakini ilipofika Nairobi ikabadilishwa kama vifaranga vya kompyuta. Tunajua haya, wakabadilisha, wakaweka wizi kubwa zaidi Nairobi. Mungu kule mbinguni akaona haya, akasema hapana. Akasema hii ni kazi ya shetani. Mungu akasema shetani.
All right, so that is what Otiende Omolo had to say. And we come to you, Osido. 162 petitions in court. How will this shape the constitution of both houses of both parliaments, the Senate and the National Assembly?
In the event that these petitions are successful, and chances are beyond 60% in my view, looking at the precedents that has been set by the Supreme Court ruling, because then that is the highest court, the apex.
And other courts are bound by the decision.
Precisely, in many cases. But again, it will depend on the candidates, because if you look at the petitions, we have about 17 gubernatorial positions. We have about 62. We have about 62 MPs. We have about, I think there are about 23 senators. These really present a lot of work that needs to be done from both perspectives. That Jubilee has to work hard to keep the numbers as they are. And so the petitions must not be seen to be an individual member's petition. It has to be a collective footing for them if they want to continue to keep the numbers so that they enjoy the tyranny of numbers. On the other hand, NASA also has to work hard to actually prove the cases. Because if you look at the amount of evidence that needs to be garnered and gathered for that petition to be successful, because it is no longer a war of the courts. It is a war of numbers, like Mheshimiwa Nyoro keeps saying here, and as Jubilee has continuously drummed up the narrative. So these petitions, yes, they are going to really affect how the political terrain is going to be played, and it's also going to inform how governance is going to be run. Because if you have a majority of governors, then you know definitely that there are certain things that will work out very nicely for counties. But in the event that, say, at the national level, you have President Raila Odinga, the event that happens, then we also wait to see how the numbers will play within the National Assembly and also at the Senate. And that is why, in my view, NASA has to work very hard to maintain these petitions to be successful, so that then we see the elections taking place for those particular positions, and then we see how that therefore translates into how the country is going to be pushed to be able to move where Kenya and Kenyans want to head.
All right, gentlemen, in closing, very briefly, Bichachi.
I think one of the things that we need to enjoy as Kenyans is the Supreme Court's ruling has given us an opportunity to look at our electoral process and our electoral character. What I'm really grateful for is the fact that the Supreme Court has shown us who our politicians really are. Everyone is baring their teeth, so now we know who they are. Number 3, what is critical is we now need to have conversations. 1, should we separate presidential elections away from other elections? Should we have midterm elections? That is a very important question. And this is the first time in the history of our nation where we will elect for just one post. Let's see how that plays out. The other thing that is very, very critical is members of Parliament and Senate need to be taking the lead now, not in pushing their party's agenda, but in pushing the national agenda. And this is what they need to understand. We are about winning Kenya. It's not about winning power. It does not matter what you do with power if you do not have love for the nation. And that's what needs to be first and foremost. Kenya Kwanza, that's where we need to go back to.
That's a good point to end it. Mheshimiwa Nyoro, very briefly.
It's laughable to see someone like Raila Odinga talking about Vifaranga as a computer. And even the lawyer who is representing him in court, and even Mheshimiwa he has sent here at KTN, is actually one of the Kifarangas. I think the honorable thing they ought to have done, even to prove that they actually start with what they are saying, is to tender their resignations in the respective houses, the Senate and the National Assembly, so that at least we can see they believe in at least one word they talk about. But again, as in Jubilee, we have engaged in cold, prudent judgment insofar as elections are concerned. We know where we got how many votes, we know what we can categorize as swing, and we are concentrating our efforts towards looking for votes. But we are not bereft to the idea that looking for votes alone cannot make you president. It is looking for votes, number 1, but number 2, guarding these votes against predators like NASA, and we will do that. And I want to tell them this time round, once the Kenyan people speak, and they'll speak so loudly on 17, we will not allow any institution, any individual to come in between the sovereign will of the people of Kenya.
All right, and we will be waiting for the 17th of October. Mheshimiwa, very briefly.
We will respect the law and the Constitution, despite the fact that our brothers, yes, they'll say they will not accept. Let them know that the Supreme Court is there by the law. Therefore, the only thing, my worry, if today we were to parade Maraga and his team, we parade Uhuru and his team and ask a common Kenyan, who are thieves here, who are conmen, who are murderers, who are wakora, they definitely have an answer. Michelle, even if we were to bring those guys and put Uhuru here and his deputy, Maraga and the deputy, close your eye. We ask you just point. You'll definitely get your hand going to the direction of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta as the wakora of this country. But one more important thing, we're prepared for the elections, and prepared that because we won the elections, these guys, unless a miracle happens for them to defeat us, we'll beat them in the forthcoming elections. And we will wish the Kenyans to remain united as we're going towards elections, as for to remove the thieves from power.
All right, so again, only the 17th of October will tell us. Kenyans speak. Many thanks for being with us, gentlemen. Honorable Simba Arati, Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North, Kevin Osido is a governance expert, Mark Bichachi, political analyst, and last but not least, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, Member of Parliament, Kiharu. Great conversation here on Weekend Express, Katie, and bring us to a close on this edition of Weekend Express. Many thanks for staying with us. My name is Michelle Ngele. See you again at 1 p.m.